All right, welcome back to another episode of Foreign Insight Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Obi. So, on this week's solo edition, what I wanted to do is just use this opportunity as means to reflect on kind of where the podcast is, where I want it to go, but also, uh, you know, every now and again, there comes a time where you have to kind of reflect on your life and where you are. And my birthday's coming up here in a few days. And so I figured, I always use kind of my birthday as something where it's like, okay, where has my life gone? Where do I want to have it go going forward? And what are some of the key takeaways I've, had in that time frame? So I figured why not use this opportunity to, talk about some of those things. So I have a list of 10 gems, 10 lessons, 10 things I would tell my younger self if I had the opportunity to. But first and foremost, I hope everyone's doing well and staying safe out here. And let's get into the list. So the first thing I would tell myself, my younger self, and to any youngster listening or anybody in general, what I would say is just that you have time, but you have to put the work in with the time that you have, right? So there's kind of this thing and this new culture of like everybody's hustling, and there can usually be something or some people who believe that, they never have time to really get work done and they don't have time to really do things, or maybe that they don't find themselves in a situation or they don't find themselves with the success that they want in the present moment. But the thing is that, there's time to get things done, but you have to know what you want to do with life, and you have to know uh, what steps you have to take in order to get to your end goal. So whether that's in the gym, whether that's with your career, whether that's in school, whether that's in your relationships with people, there's always something that you can be using and you can be utilizing. There's always actions that can be put in progress and put in place that can help you get to your end goal. You just have to be willing to know what they are, do the studying to find out what those things are, and then you put the work in to do so. So that's number one on the list. Number two is something for a person, for themselves, is just that you have to forgive who you have to so that you can move your life forward. So, in life, part of it is just that you're going to meet people who maybe they're not good for you for a certain period of time, or maybe you have to let go of some people, you have to let go of some friends, some bad girlfriends, boyfriends, some bad partners, whatever the case, or even bad business relationships, for people who you might get into business with, and you guys may have different viewpoints, or maybe you feel betrayed by somebody at some point in your lifetime. But the thing is, people always feel like forgiveness is something that is acknowledgement of weakness, or that why should I have to, forgive what that person did. The way I look at it is that, you do it so that you can just get on with your life and move forward, because whether you like it or not, you harboring those negative emotions towards that person doesn't really affect them. It affects you more so, because you're the one who has to deal with that, emotion, that resentment, that guilt, or, even that pain, right? So if you're able to just kind of, you know, say, hey, our relationship was what it was, but I'm going to move forward. You then can create that peace of mind for yourself to move your life forward. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean forget. Obviously, you don't want to be blind, right? You don't want to be naive and, to think that these things can't happen. But you just acknowledge that they did, and then you move your life on, and, you look at the next challenges. Number three on the list is just something for me that's very big, which is that mentors and elder people, elder friends are invaluable, right? So if people were to look at my, close circle, my friend group, it's a lot of dudes who are much older than I am. And I think that is by design. For me, it's just I've always sort of gravitated towards having older friends. I grew up around older people, just because for me, they've usually been where I want to go, going like they usually have the life experience. So they've tried something that I've thought about, getting into. And so I'm able to kind of ask their advice and kind of, what do you think about this scenario or that scenario? How do you see this play out? And, having that knowledge, that wisdom at your disposal, and for you to kind of tap into is, I think, something that people really don't utilize enough. Like I learned this from being an athlete. It's okay if I see guys who were successful, or who got to certain benchmarks, who had certain progress, I would always go to them and be like, okay, what'd you do differently? Or this is what I'm doing now. How can I be better? Or what are you saying that I could work on? And usually, older friends, older people, older mentors or cousins, uncles, whatever the case may be, they usually are pretty good on telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I think too many people just, are comfortable and are just kind of reinforced. And sometimes that can also enforce negative habits or bad habits that don't enable you to have a healthy lifestyle, instead of really kind of pushing yourself to be better. Yeah, but it just kind of be coddled. And I think being coddled really can, hinder people's growth. Now, next on the list is being selective. Just going to the company you keep is still staying on that, but it's being selective on who you decide to trust and who you decide to surround yourself with. So this is something I think every person kind of has to understand and kind of grow and kind of figure out as they get older and as they go through more life experiences, right? The whole idea of like, understanding what kind of company you're keeping around you, right? When you're young and when you're just kind of going with the flow with things, it's easy to kind of, maybe have free spirited friends, people who, you can afford to have time to goof off for, to have time to, kind of do things frivolously. But then as you grow up and more responsibilities start being put on your plate, you really have to be diligent on the time that you decide to spend with people and what kind of, people like that you're trying to, keep around you, right? Are you and this person aligned in your beliefs and your thoughts? And if not, are your thoughts so different that, maybe it's causing you to sacrifice some of your own personal, thoughts, well-being? Is it really causing you to have to, create a sense of conflict within yourself that can really hinder your growth, down the road? Or maybe, if you're a person who's deciding to, start a family or get married, is it really worthwhile to have, maybe single friends that are gonna probably enhance bad habits? That's so I think just stuff like that, being mindful of the type of people who you surround yourself with, is something that I found to be very key in your development and my development. And I think for many other people it's a matter of, it's not easy, because like, especially if you grow up with certain, male, female friends, or maybe certain colleagues, it's a kind of cut that in, to kind of cut those ties is something that's not always easy for everyone, but it's necessary. So the next on the list is just that the greatest investment you can make is within yourself, right? So this was really embodied by me deciding to join Alphaland, like I talked about previously with my guy, London, right? It's just the fact that, you know, this is your life and it's your body, it's your mind, it's your kind of canvas and your kind of picture to paint, and so you should invest in it and take it seriously, right? Me sort of investing in going to a, not a better gym, but just a gym that, was run with, it had people who thought like I did. It was like-minded people, people who were focused, people who were driven. And it's just a different surrounding, but somewhere where I really looked forward to being in, and sort of I liked it and I enjoyed it. I think was some of the, was one of the best choices I made. And then also just deciding to invest in my health through, better food, better health practices, investing in vitamins, investing in better workout programs, better clothing, even better, smell good, all those things. You walk around more confidently whenever you really are making the effort to, maintain your upkeep or invest in your upkeep. For some people who, they don't want to take the extra step, or they don't want to put the effort into their wardrobe, it also reflects on, how they feel about themselves, their self-esteem, and then also, just sort of the way that they see themselves, right? Their confidence, right? If you don't feel good, you're not going to think good of yourself. If you don't think good of yourself, people, it's going to be hard for people to, kind of see your value if you don't, place value upon yourself, right? So I think that's a really big one, is just that you need to invest in yourself, most importantly, before anything else. Now, not only is it important to invest in yourself, but then next thing on the list is, nobody will believe in your dreams if you don't believe in them yourself. So it's also believing in yourself, right? Is the next thing. For all of us who have different goals, different aspirations, people have different views on what they see as a successful life. But I think my point with this is that whatever you want your life to look like, whatever your definition of success is at this moment, nobody else is going to believe you can be successful if you don't believe in that for yourself, right? So that goes, not just to your friends, but your family, to the people whose opinions you hold value with. If you don't walk confidently, if you don't believe in what you're saying, how can you expect anybody else to do so for you or with you, right? So I think whatever you want to go out and set out to achieve, you have to believe it full heartedly. And you can't, second guess yourself. If you second guess yourself whenever you tell people about it, they can see the uncertainty in your tone and your voice pitch. Like it's just like with me and what I had to learn with doing this podcast stuff, right? If I kind of was unsure about a point, I could hear it and I kind of understand it. I could kind of, it was almost unsettling for me to even talk about. But whenever, I've done the practice, I've had numerous conversations with people. And then when I come on here and actually I'm having these back and forth, it actually feels better. Like, cause I know kind of like, yeah, I believe in what I'm saying. I believe this because, it's coming from somewhere. There's always, you know, a place of origin that I get everything that I think about and I talk about from, right? So the next thing on the list is just to believe in what you are going for, believe in your goals, believe in your dreams, and other people will be more likely to do so with you. All right. So the next on the list is something that I think with our sort of hustle culture is a big one to kind of understand, which is that you're not going to have all of the answers to your problems figured out or solved right away. And that's kind of the point, right? That's the point of the journey. That's the reason you go out and you try to learn things, is that, you like, to try to solve the unknown is kind of why we live, right? If we knew everything, if we had the answers to everything, life would, I don't want to say meaningless, but it'd just be a very boring existence because we already have everything figured out. So rather than being frustrated on, man, I don't have this answered, I don't got this figured out, I don't got this problem figured out, I'm not sure where life is taking me yet, I would just say embrace the unknown, embrace the uncertainty, embrace being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and know that the sky's the limit and that you really can achieve things that you're set out for as long as you believe in it and kind of have the right mindset to it, right? Your approach to things in life really can take you a long way. If you approach things negatively and cynically, you're going to have a cynical viewpoint. And honestly, you're going to have cynical outcomes. You're going to have negative outcomes. But if you approach things, with the optimistic approach or with the idea that, this could be good for me, I think the good outcomes will, be more likely to be the result. Now, this next point goes a little bit into a more touchier subject, into, the realm of mental health, which is just that, I live by the saying, it's okay to not be okay, but you have to be willing to address the problem, right? So why I say that is that, we live in a time now where, mental health is still something that's kind of being worked on to be acknowledged for people. Especially I see this with guys, like being guys wanting to go to therapy or going to seek counsel for maybe some of the problems that they're having in their lives, but they don't want to do so, right? Well, my whole thing is that if you know that you have a problem, you have an issue that you're dealing with, it's okay to have those things, right? But you have to also be willing to go and address those issues, right? You have to be willing to go seek the help necessary, or to at least acknowledge that maybe you do have a problem. I think that's even more so where the root of the problem is that people like to suppress things, or not, maybe they don't like to, but it's easier to suppress things, or they don't want to come off as somebody who's weak or being perceived as weak. You're not weak for having a problem, you're weak, you just need to know how to go about fixing this problem so that way you have a solution, and then having that solution you're able to move your life forward. Everything for me is about finding resolutions and being able to progress forward, right? You're not weak if you are able to acknowledge something and want to work on it. Really, that's the truest sign of strength, in my opinion. So that being said, there's numerous sources for people to, go seek, whether it's for therapy, for mental health, or even financially, get on, trying to find ways to make more money for yourself, or, to find out what you can do to kind of address the issues you have in your life and kind of move life forward and kind of be able to fix your problems so that way you can take on new challenges. Now, next on the list is just, on a larger scale, is just being able to protect your peace, your mind, and your empire at all costs. Now, peace, mind, empires are raw, kind of symbolic words from the way that I think, right? Your peace is not is really kind of, I guess you could say, the most simplest form of it, which is just that your peace of mind, right? Your clarity, your mental clarity, right? Your day-to-day kind of stress levels being down is what I mean by protecting your peace, not surrounding yourself by people who are going to cause you stress, not surrounding yourself by stressful influences. Now, there are things from your day-to-day, like, having to go to work or having to come home and fix things with the house. Like, those are things that, us as people, we have to deal with on a regular, and they may cause stress. But it's also important to not let those things weigh us down, right? Now, from a mind perspective, right? Like I said, it's, if you're a person who knows being on social media all day has a tendency to kind of weigh down on you and cause your mind to be fatigued, maybe it's important to, not spend too much time on social media or even delete your social media, right? Be able to remove those negative things, so that way you're not so fatigued, you're not so worn down. Like, I know I have something where if I'm around too much negative energy at one time, it can really start to get kind of toxic for me. And so, with that being said, I try to always kind of be mindful and cognizant of what I'm taking in, what my mind is taking in, or even where I'm kind of surrounding myself with. And if I feel like, this is, maybe not the best environment for myself, then I'd rather just remove, myself from it, and, not take the risk or take the chance on, causing myself more stress than I need, right? And then lastly, on your empire, it's not really just a matter of money, but it's just what you are trying to build for yourself or for your family, right? Being able to protect that, whatever that is, right? And you do that by just making sure that you, surround yourself with the right, surroundings. You put the right pieces in place, or you have the right safety net, if it's financially, or just, even where you decide to live, or who you decide to live with. Are these people who are going to cause trouble? Are you living in an area that could cause trouble or has a high crime rate? If you do, then maybe it's time, you might think of having a move, even if it's going to cost you a little bit more money. If you have the means and the resources to do so, I think it's important to kind of take the stress out by investing in, better equipment, better living situations, in my opinion. And then the final gem I leave from the list is just that career choice. Your career choice, I would just say, choose wisely. Choose something that you feel like you could excel in. There's a demand for it. And it's something that, honestly, you love. That's maybe an unpopular opinion. There are those who say do something you love. There are other people who say do something that is useful and beneficial. Where I stand on is that, I feel like the times that we're living in now, anything can be profitable. Money's in abundance as long as understand how to make it, and you understand where it is. I think if you do that and you really are willing to put in work, and, you hold yourself accountable, I think you can be wealthy if wealth is what you're striving for. If it's success in a career, like, maybe getting promoted or maybe having a certain position, I think those things can be attainable just by understanding what you have to do and getting the job done. Okay. So with that, that'll wrap up this episode of Poor Insight. Just quick kind of reflection episode. Um, as far as, my birthday and just, wrapping things up and looking at where life is going. I'm about to be in my mid-20s here in a few days. And it's exciting. I get asked, are you excited for your birthday? What are you gonna do? I'm just, blessed and thankful that, I get another year on earth, hopefully, and just, I'm still healthy, and I have, a great opportunity to keep on progressing my life forward and being able to continue to bring value to you guys as best I can. As far as the content, I've been getting a lot of people to ask me to talk about different things, and, I've taken those requests under consideration, and we're working on getting that done. So, you guys stay tuned, and I think that the content that we're bringing going forward will be great, and we'll be able to bring great value. But that's a wrap. I want to thank y'all for tuning in and listening. As always, you can catch this episode on all your listening platforms, as well as YouTube and the Anchor.fm platform. Much love.